decisions that bring a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, because it's hard to make decisions. I talk about it often on this channel, and I always say to myself and say to others that that's why you have to be very careful on how you spend your energy and your time, because you only have so much energy, so much time, and you want to keep that energy and that time focused on the bigger decisions in life, not the smallest, not the smaller, frivolous ones, the unimportant ones. And that's why you don't want to get caught in the weeds of petty arguments and BS, gossip, all these things that are just a drain on your energy and your time. What it does is it eliminates your strength to make big, important decisions in your life. Because as you become an adult, you're the executor of your own will, so to speak. You decide, how you want to live your life, believe it or not. And so I put together 3 bullet points on what every decision requires. Number 1, every decision requires risk management. What is that? It's evaluating the upside versus the downside. Because we know there's no guarantees in life. There's nothing you can do. There's no decision you can make that guarantees it will go 100% right. But every decision should be looked at through a risk management perspective as what is the possible reward and what's the chance that we or I succeed and what's the chance that I fail and what's the consequence. Evaluating the pro and the con is risk management. And deciding for yourself, is this a very risky thing or is this, I don't want to say a sure thing, but a more probable thing? And that's not the final part of a decision making, but that's a major. That's one of the first things you have to do when you make a decision is manage the risk and understand what your odds are on that thing. Like, if you go to the crap table, right? Yeah. There's a higher odds on if you bet on the odds coming out, if you bet on the field, if you bet on the line. There's different bets you can make in a casino, and they give you different odds. And depending on the odds, you may wager a certain amount. And life itself is risky, So the next bullet point that you need to consider when you make a decision is the evaluation of time. Every decision is either going to take time away from your life or give you back some personal time. And you make a decision to work overtime, you make money, but you lose time. Okay. You make a decision to travel the scenic route. Okay. You'll spend more time driving, but you may see more beauty. The evaluation of time in every decision is part of a well thought out decision. I always stress that the average human is 80, or the average human only lives to 80 because that's part of a decision. At what point in your life do you start to live this retirement dream? At what age in your life do you start to live the dream? The evaluation of time. That is part of the cornerstone of every decision. How much time do you have and how are you spending it? Spending time is like spending money. Okay. And so it's good to give some thought into that when it comes to making a decision on what you need to do or what you want to do. And, there's a lot to be said, for considering things when it comes to what's best for us, and because there's always a pain, there's always a sacrifice, there's always a con. And as humans, we're trying to get rid of the pain. We're trying to get rid of suffering as much as we can. And then as we become mature, we realize we can't totally eliminate it. We can just make wiser decisions, better ones, not perfect ones. So you did the risk management, you did the value of time, and now timing comes into play. Because evaluating time and timing is different. Okay. Timing is, okay, that you don't want to run through a red light, okay, because that's bad timing, or if you plan a trip and you're going to be traveling at 5 p.m. during rush hour in a major metropolitan area, that's bad timing, okay? So timing is understanding at different points in the calendar year, there's different seasons. At different points in the day, there's different congestion points, okay? I often say that when NASA, or now SpaceX, which took over NASA, when they evaluate the decision on when to put a rocket up into space, there's a tight timing window. And they will only attempt to launch, they will only make the decision to launch when they're in this tight time window. Because that time window, that timing, has already considered the risk management. It has already considered how much time they put into developing the rocket. And now they have to hit it just right. They did the first two things. Now they got to hit the timing part just right. And even when you do all those three things, you manage the risk, you evaluate or you value time, and you understand that it's taken a lot to get our rocket ready for orbit. You don't just rush the rocket into orbit. You have a tight time window. You've done all those three things. There's certain rockets that launch and explode. They don't go right. Failure. And all decisions in our life will bring a certain percentage of failure. And then as we get older and as we get wiser, hopefully we try to have less failure and more success through this experience and through this checklist. All engineers have checklists. All things that get delivered to your house for assembly have a assembly manual, a 5 bullet point step to assemble the furniture or whatever it is. Everything has a structure or a science to it, a rhythm to it, a flow to it. So decisions should be looked at the same way as the end table that you bought from Amazon that you had to put together. It had a series of steps to put that end table together. Every decision requires risk management, the evaluation of time, and timing. And then learning off the experience of failure and then trying to progressively get better. That is the essence of every decision you'll ever make in life. Okay. When you decide to go to college, what you're doing is you're managing your risk. You're saying, well, if I'm going to spend 30 grand, 70 grand, whatever it is, I'm risking going in debt, or I will go in debt. What's my upside in this career? What's the upside in majoring in communications? What's the upside of becoming an electrician? What's the downside? The upside of being an electrician is you may secure a trade and a certification. The downside is you're going to do a lot of manual labor, a lot of risky things with your body, and it's not a long-term thing, okay, for some people. There's always a risk management assessment, whether it's picking your career, picking your college, picking your spouse, picking your dog, whatever. When you pick a dog, I know I did, you look at the breed and the characteristics of that breed. Would a 80-year-old senior get a Great Dane? A Great Dane is a very big dog, beautiful dog, but for a senior citizen to pick up a Great Dane would be a great mistake in the decision-making process. Because I can tell you, my mom's 73, she could barely pick up a little Boston Terrier. Every decision requires risk management, whether it's picking a dog, picking a career, picking anything, deciding to move, deciding to change. And so I hope this video helps you. I hope these things spur something, because that's what these videos are about. They're not the end-all be-all. They're about sparking some inspiration, some information in your mind so that you can get your engine running in your life and you can start to make your own decisions. Because a spark plug, that's all it does, is it sparks the combustion in the engine so it can run on its own. Okay. And so, again, I hope my video sparks something in you. Backwoods, welcome back, man. Good to have you, man. Backwoods, shout out to the Pacific Northwest, man. What's the temperature over there? I'm evaluating the decision to travel back down south. And I'm looking at the 10-day forecast, and I'm evaluating things, and I'm going back and forth in my mind. Is it time to go now, or should I wait a couple more weeks? It's a tough call. Great to have you back, brother, and love to you. Edith, when I recently was offered a different position at the dealership, I had to weigh income against quality of life. Well, that's a good comment. Like, man, I remember, Edith, to your point, that I was at a job one time, and me and another worker were given more responsibility. So we had went to our director and we said, look, if we're going to get more responsibility, we want more money. Okay. And it took us about 3-4 months to have a sit down with the big boss who makes the big decisions. And when we finally got our chance in front of the big boss, he said to us, he said, look, I can understand your issue with you're given now more responsibility and so you want more money. He goes, but in your emails to me, I saw a couple things. You said, obviously you want more money because you got more responsibility, but you also said that you wanted a level of a quality of life. Or you threw out the word quality of life. So let's talk about that. He goes, because if I give you a raise, whatever it is, if I give you an extra $10,000 a year, and if you accept this position, you realize that you're going to sacrifice some of your quality of life, possibly. He goes, the alternative is we hire 2 more people or 1 more person and they take the role rather than you. And then in a rare instance, because this doesn't always happen at your job, in a rare instance, the guy gave us the opportunity. He goes, so this is my reply to your request. I will give you the raise, but you're going to have to sacrifice more, lack of quality of life, or we're going to hire someone else to do the job. So me and the other guy decided to let them hire someone else to keep quality of life. Now, the counterbalance to that is you also have to consider timing and everything else, because if you constantly reject promotions, you're going to be getting coffee for someone who's less qualified than you and has more upside than you. Like, it is true, the higher you go up, the more responsibility, the more aggravation, but also the more perks, the more authority, the more control. So that's the evaluation. Not easy to evaluate. So Edith, love to you, and I'll keep you in my prayer because I believe you're a smart, talented woman that can go very, very far in life. But I know emotionally it's very hard to decide to leave something and take something. Like, that's why when I watch the Shark Tank, when they have multiple offers, it's very hard for them to choose one because decisions are hard to make, and it's wild. Backwoods, I love you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Backwoods says, I accidentally let the membership relapse, brother. Well, that's okay, brother. That's what I want. My memberships are, you can quit at any time. You don't have to renew them. Why? Because you have that freedom and that's your decision. And whether it was an accident, and I believe you, or whether it's on purpose, I just want to speak to that there's no lifetime commitment here. It's, freely come, freely go as far as, canceling membership or whatever. So I keep the memberships up there for 2 reasons. One is it does block trolls and it respects my time. 3 is this is a side hustle, so I have to evaluate my time versus compensation. And the memberships have worked in regards to the purpose. I've lost some views, but I've maintained a revenue. It's kept a better quality of chat, those who are serious. And for those who don't want to do it or don't want to do it any longer, they don't have to. They're not obligated. So you ask me as a YouTube creator, 4 months after creating memberships, do I regret it? No, it's been a blessing to keep the trolls away and to keep, it stabilizes my YouTube revenue. And so it's just been a win from the quality of the content in the live chat to the stability of the volatile YouTube revenue. However, like I tell you, Backwoods, I tell Fred, and we're going to read Fred comments, and I tell Edith, and I tell everyone, you have to do what you have to do for you. I'm not entitled to anything. You guys don't owe me anything. So when you guys feel, for whatever reason, that you need to go and not be a member, or you do what you need to do for you. Why? Because there's no guilt trips here. There's no sad stories here. This is just a guy living in his car, trying to make the best decisions for his life, doing a side hustle while using my gift of communication, trying to balance it all out. And that's what it is. So love to you, Backwoods, and thank you, brother. Edith, part of my challenge, too, is that I'm a female in a male-dominated business. So had to take into consideration how they would view that decision as well. Thank God that we're progressing. I was on the phone the other day on a conference call with probably about 6 to 7 people, okay? I would say, let's say 8 people. And I would say about 3 or 4 of them were women in high positions, some higher than me. And about 4 of them were minorities as far as African-American or Spanish. So this is a corporate world. These are people in the higher ups. And when I got off the phone, my mom said, wow, she goes, you work with that many women? Because she heard me say women's name. I said, yeah. She goes, they're very intelligent, because I could barely understand what you were saying. And I said, yeah. I said, I thank God that, we're progressing as society as much as people don't think. Guys, 30, 20 years ago, you would never have women in certain positions. You would never have minorities in certain positions. So as dark as it seems sometimes with regards to building equality and building a better country, we are, and we have. And I know it's very discouraging to look at humanity and get discouraged, but it's also inspiration if you look at humanity and see how far we've come and how far we will go. And that's a blessing, because that's a better quality of life for everyone when there is, and there will come a day like you don't even think about it, as a woman, as a man, like I say, I've had bosses that are women. I have bosses that were minorities. And you get to the point where it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, especially now in a technology world, we're all avatars. We're all a picture in a conference call that, it just matters if you get the job done and if you keep the client happy or you keep your coworkers happy and you're effective. And that's what it should be. The content of your character is the quality of your life. So what I could tell you is we still have work to do, but we've come a long way, and you're part of that. Like I say, I know from speaking to you just online, you're probably a lot better than a lot of other males, but it's not that you're automatically better than males, but it's like you have just as much to offer as a male and I'm sure there's some good and some bad and everything. So, keep pushing forward because sky's the limit. Fred. Hey, Sam, everyone. Fred, what's up, brother? Fred. I'm close to a decision on migrating south, man. Been thinking about it, looking at that 10-day forecast. It's a tough one. We'll see tomorrow. I'll probably do a live feed whether I decide to go or stay another week or so. We'll see. Fred, do you have a Cash App or other payment process for donations? I don't have Cash App. I have a PayPal link, which is in all my video descriptions. Love to you, Fred. I appreciate all you do, man. Fred, you held me down, man. I was thinking about you today because it was raining in New Jersey. And I was thinking about when I still think about, I gotta say, I remember when I came back up to New Jersey in March last year with the coronavirus, or 2020. And I was in a bad place mentally, man. And Fred was just like, brother, hang in there, man. Hang in there, Sam. I was in a bad place, man. I thank God that just pushed through it, man. I appreciate all your positive words, man. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're in a good place, man. Shout out to the BK. Backwoods. I completely understand, brother. Me and you on the same page. I appreciate you and all your wisdom and content. Thank you. I take a piece of knowledge from everyone. That's right. That's how it should be. And put it all together. That's right. And put your own twist on it. You have a different fingerprint than your father, than your favorite YouTuber, than your lover, than everyone. So Backwoods, you make the decision that's best for you, not best for your father, not best for Inspirational Nomad. As long as you respect others in society and you're not doing any harm, you got to do you, brother. Not easy. But I believe in you, man. Fred, 33 cents a day is a bargain. I believe it is. If you can cancel at any time too, keep it up, Sam. Well, thank you, Fred, for your graciousness. I love and appreciate you, man, and thank you for the unconditional support. Fred, I hope you are staying warm. Yeah, and dry, buddy. We're having a mini storm here in NY. Yeah, I caught it. It's kind of like dissipating now. But we're getting the outbands of the hurricane that came through Louisiana area. So it's traveling north. It should dissipate by the end of the day tomorrow, Friday. And then we're going to have 1 or 2 days of clouds. But next week in the Northeast, it's still in the 60s and sunny. So I'm debating do I want to travel tomorrow or wait another week? I'm taking it day by day right now. So, I'm using my flexibility. At the same time, I'm getting a little bit restless. So I'm struggling with that decision. It's like there's no perfect time, but we'll see. But I appreciate you, man. Hang in there. There's a better, brighter day coming, and it's not the dead of the winter yet. And to all my nomads out there, it's still great camping weather. And again, if you can get in the 60s during the day, and next week you're going to get sun, and you can be in the 50s and 40s at night, that's perfect camping weather. That's probably the weather in the Pacific Northwest. So that's why I have to discipline myself sometimes, because if you look at my past history, there was times like I rushed down to Florida in August or in September, and for the nomad, look, I miss Florida because the culture and the environment's better, no doubt about it. But right now, fall is the best season for being up north. So there's still a couple more weeks of fall. So, but this week we do have the time change, like spring forward, fall back. Meaning in fall, November 1st, this Sunday, 2020, November 1st, at 2 a.m., we push our clock backwards. So if I do decide to travel to Florida, I'll have an extra hour of travel. I got to think about that. Love to you, man. Edith, backwoods isn't beautiful today? Yeah, well, it's probably nice in the Pacific Northwest. Let's Google the temperature in, what was it, Kellogg, Idaho? Yeah, Kellogg, Idaho. Let me Google. I'm Googling it right now, Edith. Oh, yeah. See, it's 65 and sunny today. Tomorrow, you're going to have a little rain. You'll be in the 50s. And then the next few days, same thing. You're pretty much in the high 50s, low 60s. End of next week, you may get some rain. So New Jersey's actually got even a little bit better weather. And, look, Edith knows because she's from Vero Beach. Like, let me Google the weather forecast. Well, let me show you. Let me show you Kellogg, Idaho. So this is Kellogg, Idaho 10-day forecast. Okay, so you see you got some sun, clouds, 60s and 50s. So now let's Google Vero Beach, Florida, where Edith is from, but she had to leave to restart her life, reset her life. Sometimes you need to make the decision to move states, to reset your life, to remove yourself from people and build a new life. And that's what Edith did. And also, look, she wanted to get out of that scorching heat. Yeah, let's look at Vero Beach, guys. Vero Beach right now is 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and it feels like almost 100 degrees when you consider the humidity. And it's going to be like that for the next few days, probably all the way till the end of November. And then it will just be 80s and probably 60s at night. So, look, as a nomad, if you're going to be traveling without air conditioning, without heating, which I do, I live as a primitive nomad out of my vehicle, out of my Jeep Renegade, you have to look at the weather. That's part of your decision. That's your risk management. Why? Because, look, I risk more the more extreme the temperature is with regards to the quality of my sleep, the quality of my health. And I have to consider, I was thinking about ESP from Alaska, who lives full-time in her NV200, but she decided to rent Airbnb over the harsh winter of Alaska. One of the reasons in her consideration of her decision was we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Now, again, I recognize that the death rate is low, and it's mainly just a contagious disease, but the effects of society and like Starbucks still having limited to some of them no capacity for in-house seating. Like when I was in Florida for the past 2 years and it was hot outside, I would go in Starbucks and do my work and be in air conditioning. That's not the case anymore because we're still in a pandemic, okay, where you're not going to have that liberty to just be chilling in the air conditioning and doing your work. Or, you know, you can go on the Planet Fitness with your mask and you can sit at that desk. They have like a little lobby. But, it's a little bit uncomfortable to do your work with a mask on. And I respect that. Look, that's what it takes to go in a shared environment. So, working out of your car in extremely hot temperature, it makes for a harder, more downside quality of life. So I have to consider that, in my migration plan back down south. And I am considering it, and I'm also basing on my experience. Fred, I'm sorry, Mr. Comment, brother. I was just sharing. You can feel free to type it again, but if you wanted to retract, that's fine too. I love you, Fred. Edith, the one thing that messes with my mind out here is that after the time change, this is a good comment here, it gets pitch black after about 5 p.m. Well, you're about to make my decision easier. I can't imagine being in Alaska and having months of darkness. So that's an excellent point. Yeah, that's a good comment, Edith, because I think about if I decide to stay for another week, when it's darker earlier and it's more dreary, but it's still sunny next week, it affects my mental health negatively. And I know it. I feel it. Like I tell you guys, Fred was encouraging me because as soon as I came back up to New Jersey last spring, I was negatively affected mentally. And I don't do good with winters. I cannot do another winter. I could do a couple more months in November here, but I could not do January, February, March. I mean, I would do it if I had to, but it would negatively affect my well-being, quality of life. And that's why I can never live in New Jersey anymore, not in the winter. I can never live in Alaska. I mean, NVRV, she's got her own style, like we always say, to each their own, because that's what makes the world go round. But yeah, I couldn't do it. I could do it if I had to, but I wouldn't want to do it. And you have to have a desire. Sometimes in life we have to sacrifice. Like I never had a desire to work with my hands and be in construction, but I managed the risk. I said, well, look, I make a certain amount of money, I'll get a certification, then I get the hell out of Dodge. And that's what I did. Why? Because I figured while I'm young, this is the timing's part of a decision-making process. This is the time to sacrifice, and then when I'm older, reap the benefits. It's true. Fred, but if you believe what Trump says, the pandemic is over. Yeah, look, he underestimated it. Then he overshot on the level of shutdown. Then he overshot on telling people to liberate America. And he was reckless in not enforcing a national mandate on masks in shared areas, okay, where you can't social distance. So, I don't believe in mass shutdowns. I think that's more harmful than good. But I believe in when you're, just to make it a national thing, where, and the president sets the example, that when you're in a shared environment, let's keep it open, but let's protect ourselves. Let's keep social distancing. Let's wear masks. Let's get this damn thing over. Look, it is what it is. None of us, we can speculate on why it's here. And I do speculate that maybe China released it. Maybe it wasn't natural. And maybe it was because Trump was talking nasty to them for 3 years. And they were playing chess and he was playing checkers. However, that's speculation. It's not fact. I don't know. And either way, I don't want to go down that negative route. I just want to look. We got to deal with it now, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. So let's just deal with it. Let's get this damn thing over as quickly and as safely as we can. And let's move forward, man. Fred, love to you, bro. Love you too, man. I had a typo. That's okay. I had to edit. Well, better. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Fred, France is on lockdown again due to the spike of infections. Yeah, I don't know. I heard that the European nations or countries are facing a spike. I don't know the data, though. So I'd have to, let me see now, because I still think it's less than 1% that die. And 99% of people will never die from it. But you don't want the hospitals to become overrun and your healthcare system get bad. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't agree with mass lockdowns unless it's a mass disaster. Because I think it has a negative effect on the well-being of society, not just the economics. I mean, that's one part of it, but also the physical health, the mental health, the productivity levels, the energy, the flow that humans need to have something to do, to have something to look forward to have resources to buy. It's like a lot of people forget that, look, people still had to work at grocery stores. I traveled up the East Coast during a pandemic, and gas stations still have to stay open, convenience stores, food stores. So people have to work, and these people are getting paid not that much. And so, look, you want car manufacturers to stay open. You want society to function, but there's a balance, that's what we face with as humanity always, is what's the right balance, what's the right decision for this circumstance. And it goes back to my bullet point number 1, risk management. So I don't think there's enough upside to shut down the entire country for a spike in cases, because cases does not mean sickness, right? Because there's plenty of people that get infected, but they don't get sick. And most people who do get sick, they don't have to go to the hospital. And then there's about 10 to 20% that do have to go to the hospital, and 1% that die. So you don't want to shut down the entire world for 1% of the population. However, you don't want to have no empathy and just not wear masks and not have any consideration for the fact that it may get passed to your sick relative. I have high-risk family members. I could die from it. None of us are bulletproof from it. But life itself is risky. Like, we manage that risk when we drive, right? Like, really, you should never want to drive because it's one of the most deadly things you can do in the world. I think 500,000 people die per year in car accidents. So only 200,000 people have died this year from the coronavirus, in America anyway. So it's like, should we not drive? Of course, look, we got to function. So, but the seat belt, when we wear a seatbelt, and I remember when I was young, we didn't wear seatbelts that much. I mean, when I was in my 20s, that's when the police officers started enforcing seatbelts. And I remember there was an old school generation, like my parents' generation, they thought seatbelts were infringing upon their right. Just like people think like wearing a mask is infringing upon their right. It's like, so there's nothing new under the sun. Do you know the automobile industry fought the seatbelts? People fought the seatbelts. They felt it was an infringement of their rights. And so it is a balance of when do we go too far, but it's risk management. It's risk management, which is part of a decision. Free Spirit, Sam, hope you're doing well, brother. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well also. Where are we in the timeline to return to Florida? Great question. I was thinking about doing it today, actually, but the rain, too much rain. I'm too much risk, not enough upside. Because right now in the Northeast, we're getting the outbands of this hurricane. So tomorrow it stops raining at the end of the day. So either tomorrow afternoon, evening, I'd start my descent, migration down. Or I looked at the 10-day forecast. I could do another week. I don't know. In one sense, I don't want to stay any longer because I'm just anxious to go. In the other sense, I do love spending time with my mom. And it is still great camping weather. Like next week, it's going to be in the 60s, sunny, other than like one day or so with cloudy weather. So I don't know. Tomorrow or week by week, that's the answer. But what I reserve the right and what I always share with you guys, and this is part of being a YouTuber, is that I have the final say. And I know that there's a certain amount of people that watch me, they want me to travel based on what they want. And I won't do that. And I'm not saying you, Free Spirit, I'm just speaking truth here, is that I have flexibility and I'll use it. If I wanted to stay in New Jersey forever, I'll do it. See, sometimes as nomads or as people, we get put in a corner. And people have a certain, like at one point, people said to me, you should never live in your car. Then they said to me, like if I decide not to live in my car, like, that I'm watching you because you're living in your car. Or I'm watching you because you're going to go to Florida. I always, and I'm not saying this to Free Spirit. I love you, brother, and I appreciate you. I'm saying this. I want all of you, including Free Spirit, I want you to remember this. You'll need this. You make the decision for your life. No one else. Not your viewers, not your parents, not your boss. There's consequences to every decision. But in your life, in your personal life, every decision you make is up to you. And you can change your mind at any time. And through my experience and through me evaluating, I will consider when's the best time for me to go. But it's a great question because I think about it every day at this point, brother. So I appreciate the question, but I'm taking time to just share about it. So we'll see about it. I mean, look, I'm going to obviously make videos about it when I go. And love to you, free spirit. And thank you, brother, for your love and support. If we had an explosion of COVID at the dealership, well, that's not good. The past few weeks, we are wearing masks. Good. Full time at work right now. Got to. I think it came from a group of guys that partied in Vegas. Possible. I remember when the coronavirus first came, there was a doctor in New Jersey who said, look, no matter what we do, the virus is so infectious that no matter what we do, 80% of the population is going to get it. So what they were trying to do, or what the thought process was, bend the curve. Because I think all the higher ups already know most people are going to get it. So what they're trying to do is keep the health system from becoming overburdened if everyone gets it at once, and bide their time until they can get to a vaccine. Now there's talks now, even with the vaccine, will that last forever? Or will it be like a flu shot where you got to get it all the time? There will be a certain amount of the human population that won't want to take a vaccine. Okay. So, you know, that's where it goes back to like one of the original videos I made when the coronavirus came out. This may have changed society forever, or for at least a long period. I hope not. But as a nomad now, like to Free Spirit's question, when I think about going back down to Florida now, I have to think about the pandemic because I can't just go into any Starbucks and set up an office. Some of the Planet Fitnesses in some of the states and areas, they don't have showers open. You know, most of the campgrounds are reopened. But the way I used to travel and be a nomad before the coronavirus, it's different. Now, there was a period from March 2020 to June of 2020 where being a nomad was damn near impossible. Okay, you had to go to a truck stop for a shower. You had really no resources. It was a disaster. So thank God we're out of the worst, but nomads are still negatively affected, especially when it comes to those living out of their car or van that don't have a fully self-contained RV. And that's why RVs, their sales have spiked because, you know, you got to be almost self-contained to really be able to travel at will and have all the conveniences known. So I understand why ESP made the decision not to travel this year. I would have a tough time. Look, I don't see myself in New Jersey in the dead of the winter. I don't, no matter what. So what do I see myself in New Jersey maybe for another week or so? It's possible. But, you know, no way will I be here in the winter. I just can't. I mean, obviously, if there was an emergency and my mother needed me, no doubt. That's why I have flexibility. Like I say, as a nomad, I always keep in my back pocket, I can change my mind at any time. The reason I sold my house, the reason I live so primitive is because what gives me peace when I'm scared, when I'm sad, when I'm depressed, what gives me peace is knowing that I have options, okay? And I can use them or not use them, but I have those options. And for me, that's empowerment. And that's part of my decision-making process to stay as a nomad full-time. Now, will that change? It may. But right now, that's a major part of my decision-making process. Good job. Let's take a hydration break, then we'll go back to live comments. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Backwoods brother. I appreciate you, man. I love you. Thank you, Edith. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Free Spirit, man. I appreciate you, Free Spirit. Edith. I read that. Fred, at Edith. This is the new norm for us. Sadly, you may be right. We're getting spikes here too in NY. All over, man. True. Yeah, flu season's near. That's a good point. More people will stay indoors due to the cold weather. Germs galore. Yeah, that's a negative about the winter too. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Edith, all the Trumpers I work with are whining about wearing a mask now. Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, that's what I mean. Look, I understand everyone has a right to vote however they want, to support whoever they want. But I think now, especially after Trump got the coronavirus, you don't have to agree, you don't have to vote for Joe Biden, but I would, and you don't have to wear a mask when you're walking in a park and you're not buying one. But when you're in a work office or when you're in a place where you're sharing space, just wear a damn mask. I mean, and that's where I think, like, I don't understand Trump's reasoning. Like, if Trump would just do simple things like that, I think he would have a bigger base. It's like, I don't know why he wouldn't just say, look, I wear a mask everywhere, whatever. And that's it. It's a healthcare thing. It's not even like, you know what I mean, making it to a crazy thing. But yeah, I don't know. And that's what's weird, man. I don't understand it. Let's continue to read. Fred, yeah, I hate that Trump politicized wearing masks idea. I just spoke on that. It's insane. It don't make me and you on the same page. Protect yourself and loved ones. Guys, wear a condom, get a vasectomy, and wear a mask. I've been preaching that for a long time. Okay. Backwoods, Max Sammy, I love you, Backwoods. I love you. Never forget it, man. Backwoods. It's all beautiful in the Pacific Northwest, in my opinion. I ain't mad at that. Yeah, no, I agree with this. It's perfect temperature for working outside. Look, fall temperatures are the best. I used to think that spring, fall, and summer were all tolerable. And the only season I truly hated was winter. But I've come to realize, especially for 4 years being a primitive nomad, that springtime in the Northeast sucks. Because it doesn't get warm that fast, and it feels like winter drags. And so now I've learned through experience that summer and fall are the only good seasons that I like. And I don't know, I guess I've embraced fall more too, because I know I don't have to deal with winter, because I'm going to be able to travel to Florida. Like, I used to really hate fall. Part of it was not because of the weather, but it was because I knew I was getting ready to go in a 6 to 8 month period where it's just a dark hole of cold weather. And even if I decide to stay in New Jersey for another week or whatever, I know that's not the case. And so that's the difference mentally. So, yeah, it's true. Edith, the no mask wearing Trumper that went to Vegas together, sharing their marijuana vaping pens, all got sick. Damn. Brought out to the dealership. That's a shame, man. That's a shame, man. I was thinking about that too. Like, I remember when I used to smoke weed, in my teens and early 20s. And we used to pass the blunt, and everyone used to smoke from the same blunt. You do a shotgun. Guys, I mean, that's coronavirus craziness. Drinking the same beer or smoking the same cigarette or blunt. What a disaster. Yeah, I don't know why you guys want to do that, man. Crazy. Backwards. People should be fighting this mask BS. It's all a scam in my opinion. All right. But I have factual evidence that says different. Only 1,900 have died from the COVID-19. Where are we at? What happened? Oh, you retracted it? All right, no, Backwoods, I know. Me and you went back and forth. For those who don't know the history of Backwoods, me and him went back and forth several times, but we still love each other. And I know, and I don't want to, because over time, I've blocked Backwoods, he's came back. We've gone through a whole thing. So I know that Backwoods does not have malintent. But look, look, the guy's got a different opinion. I got a different opinion than him, okay? And I speak it. So, and I don't pander to him, but, Backwoods knows what it is. I don't want to, bully him. We got different opinions. I mean, that's okay, Backwoods. Look, you got to do what you got to do for you. Like I always tell you guys. Now, obviously, look, my channel is not going to be a Trump 2020 channel. And I block people because of that. But at the same time, look, I know 99% of your comments are just based on positivity, not on politics. So, look, I understand that you like Trump and you agree with that. You got a different opinion. And it's all love, man, because, look, not my thing. I don't like Trump. I don't like what he stands for. I think he hurt a lot of people. And I think he misled a lot of people. And I think blood is on his hands, literally. And I think he escalated things that didn't need to be escalated. through his tone, through his temperament, through his manipulation and hiding the facts. He hid. The fact is, it's admitted and brought out, he hid the fact that he knew about the dangers of the coronavirus for 2 months. And I think that's a shame that he didn't take accountability for that, because that hurt a lot of people, physically, emotionally, mentally. And like he told Barack Obama, when you're a leader, if whatever good happens, it's on you. And whatever bad happens, it's on you. So Trump needs to be measured by the same standard he measured Barack Obama. So if he measured Barack Obama, but whatever happens, it's on you. Whatever happens on Trump. If Trump demanded Barack Obama's birth certificate, he should then give up his tax records, right? Because the same standard, if we believe in treating others how we want to be treated, if we believe in that, then we should never stand with Trump. Now look, I understand a different political philosophy, but if people out there say they believe in the essence of the gospel, okay, and guys, do I believe Biden is the savior? No. Do I believe Biden is better than Trump? Yes. Why? Because in 4 years, under Trump's leadership, under Trump's standard of firing people on The Apprentice, of judging Barack Obama, under his standard, he should not be allowed to be employed by the taxpayers of this country because he failed us. And, he's got to be fired. It's true. I love you, brother. Backwoods. I don't want to step on anyone's shoes. Nah, no. I just get the whole thing too. I love you too, man. Trump's out of control, pretty much. I love you, man. You know what it is, Backwoods. Oh, man. Love to you, man. Yeah, politics are a disaster, man. There's no doubt. I was hoping that we would just get through 4 years, even if he got another 8 years, and just leave us the fuck alone. Whatever. He wants to go and be the big boss. I don't care. Guys, because I really don't care. But I knew, just like I think everyone in this live chat that's honest knew, you knew when Trump got elected, like part of you was closing your eyes saying, please don't let him fucking destroy the world, okay? And it happened. It happened. Oh, guys, there's no way you're an honest person, even if you voted for Trump, and in your heart, you didn't say, oh shit, I hope he doesn't destroy the world. And he did it. He destroyed the world, guys. And so we can't turn our back for the fact that our worst fears came true. So, guys, I felt that. Because to me, I didn't vote for him, but I just said, God, I hope he doesn't kill some shit or destroy shit. And he did it. He did it. He fucked up. If there are a few who can't wear masks because of health issues, and the dealership told them they can't work in the building without medical documentation, I agree with that. That violates HIPAA laws. I agree with that. Because technically, it's like saying, you're allowed to smoke in a building because you don't want that building to infringe on your rights. Like I told you, the decision to wear seatbelts was fought by citizens of this country. They said the seatbelt was an infringement on your right. There was corporate money by automobile industry that they fought the seatbelts for years. Now they advertise how safety friendly they are. For years, the tobacco industry said that there's nothing wrong with cigarettes, and citizens fought against the right of banning cigarettes in bars. I remember when they started banning cigarettes in bars because they were saying that, look, you have a right to smoke, but you don't have the right to smoke in a restaurant, in a bar, whatever, because that negatively affects other people in that shared environment. And people fought that for years, especially in New York, okay? And a lot of strip clubs I went to, and I was smoking cigarettes then, they fought it for a long time, okay? Finally, after years of deaths and facts and information, finally people recognized and accepted that, look, for the greater well-being of society, you have a right to kill yourself, but you don't have a right to negatively affect your fellow citizen. And that's what you do when you don't wear a mask. It's true. Now, again, if you're in a shared environment, if you're by yourself masturbating in a car, you don't have to wear a mask. Okay. All right, let's take address. I love you guys. I do. Free spirit. I'm concerned what's going to happen when Biden wins next Tuesday. The Trumpers are going to go apeshit. Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, look, I was concerned when Trump got elected. I thought like there were riots in front of Trump Plaza. So I think society will accept it one way or another. Yeah, I think it'll be okay. Look, no matter what, I always tell you guys, and I practice what I preach. No matter what, even if Trump gets reelected, I'm going to keep making decisions for my own life. I'm not going to stop living. Just like I didn't stop living when Trump got elected. I didn't vote for him, but I was like, yeah, I hope he does good. I just said, I hope he does good, and I hope he don't kill no shit. And, so I got, but look, I mean, this was the first year in my lifetime, in all of your lifetimes, that the country was so affected by the management of politicians that it affected all of our lives and all of our decisions. People made a decision to buy a home base based on the coronavirus. People made a decision maybe to get married. Maybe the coronavirus said, I definitely don't want to live with this person. So, it's decisions. It's true. Love to you, man. Backwoods. Facts, Sammy. I appreciate you, Backwoods. Edith. But a person's medical history is private and protected by law. An employer has no right to demand that information, right? Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to misspeak on that fact. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you, number one. Number two, when I don't know your state's guidelines, right? So if a state is mandating, like in New Jersey, they mandated that gyms closed and they didn't reopen until September. And there was one gym, I think on the Jersey Shore, that fought it. And they got issued summons, like tickets, because they stayed open. And just like, I remember driving on the New Jersey Garden State Parkway when I was like 22 and I didn't have my seatbelt on. Because again, when I was younger, we kind of still didn't wear seatbelts. And I remember a state trooper hiding right behind a toll booth on the parkway, and he saw me driving, and as soon as I got paid the toll, he said, pull over. And I said, oh shit, what happened now? And he gave me a ticket for not wearing my safety belt. Okay. So you asked the question, does an employer have a right to ask for medical records? Well, if they're enforcing the law, then they may have a level of a right, sure. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm sure you can debate that on either way. Again, remember, there's no exact law. What does that mean? Guys, they're still debating Roe versus Wade. They're still debating should abortion be legal or not. Why? Because, guys, what happens is the Constitution was amended many times. Like some people say the Constitution is fact. No, it's not. It's been amended. Why? Because we changed it. Laws have been changed, okay? And they can be changed. The courtroom is where two lawyers or two people debate law and try to persuade the judge or the jury in ruling in their favor in the interpretation of law. The Senate and the Congress make laws. The president doesn't make laws. The Senate and the Congress. You need Nancy Pelosi. You need whoever that guy is from South Carolina or Kentucky, the poor states, you need them too. You need Congress and the House to make the law. Then the lawyers debate the interpretation of the law in the courtroom. Then the jury, or the judge make a decision on if they agree with the way the law has been interpreted by whoever lawyer is persuading them. So guys, what are we talking about? We're talking about there's no absolute truth in this world. Okay. When Jesus was sent to be crucified, Pontius Pilate was trying to make a decision on if Jesus deserved to die by crucifixion. Because the Roman government were atheists. Okay, but pretty much, they were like gluttons. They weren't Roman Catholic. Christianity didn't even exist. Jesus was a Jewish man, and Jewish leaders didn't like Jesus because he basically said, a lot of your religion is based on tradition, not on the essence of what the Torah really meant. Jesus' interpretation of the law of Moses was different than the Pharisees. So there was a debate on who was right and who was wrong. And because these religious people were under the Roman law, they had to go to Pontius Pilate to render a decision. Now, Pontius Pilate, he was over there getting blowjobs. He really didn't care because he's not religious. So he pulled Jesus aside. He goes, look, Jesus. He goes, you really ain't doing nothing wrong. What are you doing? You're healing people. You're doing this? What are you doing wrong? And he goes, but the religious people, they want me to give you the death penalty. Okay. You know, like Trump wanted the Central Five to get the death penalty. You know what type of guy I'm talking about? So Pontius Pilate, is saying a lot of stuff. Jesus, tell me what you want me to do, Jesus. And Jesus not saying nothing. He's just sitting there. And finally, Pontius Pilate pressured Jesus to say something. And Jesus basically said, my life is not in your hands, it's in God's hands. Type paraphrasing. And Pontius Pilate was like saying, well, what is this truth? Jesus was talking about like the truth, and Pontius Pilate was saying, well, what is this truth? There is no truth in the world. Okay. There's no absolute truth. I'm paraphrasing. And why Pontius Pilate was saying that, because he had seen that the way politics are, the way money, power, and humans are, there's no absolute truth. There's no and he really didn't find just cause to truthfully crucify Jesus, but because of political pressure, he gave in to the religious leaders. And so how do we get to this? Because, guys, Pontius Pilate used risk management. Okay, I'm not saying he made the right decision, but this was going on in his mind. He said, either I crucify this one guy that most of the people don't want, or the people that have power in society, they don't want him, or I let him go free and it's going to cause riots. And Pontius Pilate's boss was already hounding him look, we can't have no more riots over there. Because, guys, there were riots going on in Jesus' time. I don't know if you knew that, okay? Like Trump, who, remember he said 2 Corinthians? Remember he held up the Bible backwards, okay, after he shot rubber bullets at the protesters? I don't know if Trump knew that there were riots during Jesus' time, okay? And that Pontius Pilate was under a lot of pressure to control the people. So he didn't want to let Jesus go free. He didn't think Jesus was guilty. But he knew if he let Jesus go free, there was going to be more riots. So under political pressure, he kind of said, well, he's going to be a sacrifice then. We're going to have to let it go. Because he said, I can't handle, it's too much risk if I let him go. And that's why I tell you, there's not an exact science to life. I can't tell you buy this stock or do this. All I can tell you is manage your risk. But even when you do that, that doesn't mean if you crucify Jesus, you're doing the right thing. Hey, guys, this is a crapshoot a little bit. Let's take a hydration break. Where are we at? Fred, at Free Spirit. Thought the same thing. Democrats own guns too. Plus, Trump's legacy will forever be tainted. If his base goes on a war path, the military will step in and maintain law and order. Yeah, look, I mean, one is, if for everyone out there that has a gun, I always tell you guys, you only use a gun, okay, if you've tried everything you can to get away from conflict, you've tried to call the authorities, and you have no other choice but pure survival. And even then, try to shoot at the legs, okay? Because don't go aiming for the head or the heart if you know if you shoot someone in the leg, you can get away, okay? What I can tell you guys is if you go to a political rally and there's people who like Trump on one side and people who don't, you're looking for conflict. I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking to live a positive life, okay? And I know, look, there's a time to have people like protest or whatever, but there's also a time to say, look, that's not the answer. So we have to be wise in that decision-making process, because sometimes, like, you know what I mean? Like, I had friends, they would bring a gun to the club, okay? And it's like, do we really need it, okay? Because a lot of times what would happen is, what would have just been, well, one is what could have been avoided. You didn't even need to really fight. The fight could have been avoided. But, there's egos, there's alcohol, there's immaturity. So then a fight happens. And then because he got guns, the guns come out and then whatever. So I've met no one that has owned a gun, has had someone go out of their way to cause them harm and then use the gun to protect themselves. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a gun. I'm just trying to say, odds are, if you're not very disciplined in your responsibility as a gun owner, you're going to make the decision to hurt yourself and hurt others. And I'm not, guys, you want to carry a gun, get trained, understand the laws or whatever. But, just know that is a serious tool, okay? And just like a chainsaw, like a lot of you guys and girls, you wouldn't go use a chainsaw, you're scared. So if you wouldn't walk around using a chainsaw, then, think about the damage you can cause with a gun. So again, I'm not saying don't have a chainsaw, don't have a gun. I'm saying, don't get in a political argument thinking, well, I got a gun on me. If this person talks, get the hell away from Dodge because it's a disaster out there, guys. Good job. Where are we at? Edith. If Trump loses, the nation is going to go nuts, and he will encourage it. If Biden loses, the nation will go nuts, but I think he will calm discontent. I think no matter what, I think that, just like when Trump got elected, I think no matter what, there's going to be unrest on one side or the other. But I think no matter what, the country goes forward. Humanity goes forward. Now, you could say we went backwards compared to where we're at now in 2020 versus 2016. Because in 2016, I don't know about you, but it wasn't perfect. I don't want to paint the picture like 2000. But guys, we weren't dependent on, a vaccine. We weren't dependent on government for stimulus. We weren't dependent, on peace in areas that there was never this level of discord, okay? And I don't blame Trump for everything, but I would say he's definitely added to the fire instead of trying to put the fire out. That's all I'm saying. So, but I think no matter what, guys, this is the beautiful part about America. Here we go. If you don't like Trump and he gets elected, remember, he can only serve 4 more years. Because in the United States of America, the maximum amount of terms you can serve is 2 4-year terms. And I do think they should do the same thing with the Senate and the Congress. So now, if you don't like Joe Biden, if you're on the other side, remember, Joe Biden may die in 4 years, okay? And you may have a surprise election. So in 4 years, you can vote him out, so everything is temporary. And don't cling too much to any one thing. Good job. I got to take a hydration break. I'm still sweating. It's still a little bit hot up here. It stopped raining, though. That's good. At least for now. Where are we at? Fred, at Edith? That will prove even further what kind of man Trump is if he encourages violence and mayhem. Well, yeah, look, I think there's no doubt about it. Trump exposed what type of man he is already. I mean, and it's sad. Like I said, to me, if he really loved America, if he really loved it, he would say, look, I'm running to win, and I want to win. But just like Hillary Clinton did, if I don't win, I'm going to stand with the person who's duly elected, and I'm going to help them serve this country. But he won't do that because he's never been about that. He's never been about the country when it was dodging the draft, dodging his taxes. And I don't blame him for any of those things, but there's so many opportunities where Donald Trump has basically had the tit milk of America. He inherited money. He's been privileged his whole life. He never had to have a boss. He never lived in the suburbs. Guys, he's always lived in luxury. All he had to do was be grateful. He could still be like brute or whatever, but be thankful and work with others to get shit done. Okay? Because I do think he has a level of wisdom where let's cut through some of the bullshit and get shit done. However, when you have bad character and high energy, you get shit done, but in the wrong direction. Okay? And that's bad news. All right, good job. Where are we at? Backwoods, 100. Thank you, man. Backwoods. That's why politics was created. Now, I agree with this point. Divide and conquer the masses. To a certain level, in my honest opinion, I do agree that the Republican and the Democrat, like two-party control, the powers to be way above Trump, way above everyone. I think there is a level of dividing people through politics that keeps the thing swinging from one side to another to keep all society off balance. However, I'm also hopeful because if I look at where America has come, America is better in 2020 than it was in 1920. In 1920, when we were faced with the Spanish flu, and I don't know, 50 million, 100 million Americans died, segregation was still rampant. Women didn't have rights. It was a disaster. Okay? There was no corporate America. You were working for Harry's Hardware. I look at now, 2020, in a pandemic, we got Edith is going to move up and be an executive. We got Fred. We got so much more positive things, even with Trump. And I'm not giving him credit, but saying like, even in this, it's so much better it's so much better today than it was 100 years ago. I don't want to be too cynical. I don't want to be too negative because if I'm honest, there's something to be positive about in humanity. That even amongst all of our disagreements, even amongst all of our individualities, even amongst all of our arguments, somehow, some way, humans figure out how to go forward and adapt and survive. And that's amazing. It is. Let's continue. Where are we at? Fred, there was no violence or mayhem when Obama won in 2008 and 2012. Trump is the problem here. He loves the drama and anarchy. Well, I disagree a little bit. There was the Ferguson riots under Trump. Under Obama. And there was a few other riots areas that were racially driven where Barack Obama had the leverage to speak more to the problem. Because Barack Obama's half white, half black, okay? And so is Colin Kaepernick. And so I think Barack Obama could have done a better job in leading the racial, guys, you're never going to solve division, okay? Like, no matter where you are, even if you're in Africa, they had Rwanda, which was tribalism. Even if you're in Iraq, there's Sunni versus Shia, Muslim versus Muslim. You're never going to get rid of human divide. Never. No matter if you're in Iraq, Africa, America, Australia, it doesn't matter. Okay, look at Irish. How long did the Irish fight each other? So, what I could tell you is, part of human nature, there's a level of division and tribalism and just, part of life. I don't know why it's like that. But what I could say, if I'm fair, I think Barack Obama did a better job than Trump, but I also think he failed. There were certain times that he could have did a better job, whether it's the Ferguson riots, whether it was just addressing in a better way the Colin Kaepernick situation. Now, I want to be fair too. He tried a little bit. I don't think he tried enough. But America just wasn't ready. America's older generation still has to die off. Like Moses didn't make it to the promised land. The generation after him did. Joshua did. Because Moses had enough. He was too tired. He said, God, kill me by the rock. Martin Luther King didn't see the level of equality that we got now, even with the problems and with a lot better. So it always takes generations. And the Martin Luther King generation is the Trump generation. Okay. Because, guys, Donald Trump was alive during Martin Luther King. So it's gonna still take time. People are still not ready, and certain people have to die off. That's the way it is. So you're never going to eliminate human divide, even if you put everyone of the same race and of the same religion together. Example: Iraq, Sunni versus Shia. Example: Africa. Look at Rwanda. 1 million people died in a few months based off tribalism. You're never going to get everyone on the same page. However, we can, and we've shown it as Americans, as bad as we've done, and we've done bad in the world, we've also shown that over time we can get better. Okay. And we also have to respect China. Now we can disagree with them, okay? But we can't say that we're going to bully them, and we get most of our medical supplies from China. You say, well, that's what Trump is trying to change. No, guys, the trade deficit went up under Trump, okay? He could have went to the corporations, forget about going to China, and said, look, I'm not going to have disagreements with China. I'm going to the CEO of Apple. You make the iPhone in America, you can make the iPhone in China, but whatever iPhones you sell to Americans have to get made in America. Whatever iPhones you sell in China can be made in China. Now, here's the problem with that. We don't want the world growing unequally, okay? Because that's what gave a little bit of Hitler's rise. Because we left Germany, and the world left Germany for dead, and it caused an extremist to rise and take power. America left Afghanistan for dead after we backed, guys, America backed Osama bin Laden to fight off the Russians. And then when the Russians got defeated, the old Soviet Union in Afghanistan, we left and we stopped back. And then we left a power vacuum, and Afghanistan became a breeding ground. So whether we want to say it or not, and we know it through the internet, through these live chats, through everything, through playing games online, we're connected with the world, and it's better because it breaks down barriers over time, and we want the world to grow together. Because if we leave a vacuum of destitute, we're going to have to pay for that one day, okay? Whether it's with World War II or whether it's with 9/11, when you leave a vacuum in the world and you don't address that we can't just let them be a third world country, we are creating an environment that's going to come back to haunt us. Okay. So even if you say, well, the president of the United States is not elected to be the president of the world. Well, if America, the United States of America, is saying we are the world leader, we are the wealthiest, strongest country in the world, then by default, you're taking responsibility. Okay. The number one has to lead. Okay. So, and you have to figure out how to get other people in agreement for common things. But, Trump said he was going to get Democrats and Republicans to agree. Now, all the politicians say that, but I don't know, guys. This is a whole spiel. Let's not get off track. I'll take a hydration break, go back, live comments. What did I read last? Backwards. I carry a gun concealed everywhere I go, just in case I have to defend my life. Don't tread on my rights. I'm not mad at you, brother. Just be careful. I don't want to see you put yourself in a bad situation. But yeah, if you need to protect yourself and you got a concealed carry, I'm not mad at you, brother. Just be careful. And remember, if you can, walk away from conflict. Don't be like George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman this was another thing that caused a racial divide in America. And Edith knows, she's from Florida. This happened in Sanford, Florida. This was one of the real things too that caused major divisions in society, because this was the first racial thing to happen with social media. Because Rodney King, it happened when I was coming up, but there was no social media. But Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, that incident in Florida where George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin and he had a concealed weapon, and I think legally, that caused major division in the country. Everyone had social media, so this was the first time people got to debate that on social media. It was very hurtful to a lot of people. But here's the problem. George Zimmerman was not a cop. He was a citizen. Now, he was on like the community patrol. And he saw Trayvon Martin, and he looked suspicious, and they had some break-ins. So he called 911. That's a good thing. So, all right, if you see something bad or you think, call 911. Now, here's the bad thing. He went after, he got in his car, and went after Trayvon Martin to keep following him. And the police officer, or the 911 officer, the operator, told him, do not pursue him. Okay. And when he went to get out of the car, she said it again. And George Zimmerman, under instruction of the law, was supposed to meet the cops at like the community center in the complex. But he decided to take, and I guarantee you, he made this decision understanding he had a concealed weapon. So his risk management was, even if I get into a fight and I can't win, I got my gun. And that caused him to make the fatal decision to get out of his car. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. So now the 911 officer tells George Zimmerman, stay in the car. We don't need you to go after him. He gets out of his car. He disobeys the direction. Okay. And then he goes after him. And then from there, we don't have all fact. All we know is that Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman got into some type of altercation. Okay. And Trayvon Martin ended up dead. Okay. And so I think everyone, you want the right, you should have the right. But you also have a responsibility to know that, you still need to de-escalate conflict. You still need to call the police officers. Okay. And I tell you, look, if your family, like there was an incident in Philly the other day, okay, where someone called the police on their mentally insane son, okay, a black son, and the cops came, and the son came after the cops with a knife, and they shot him. Now, I've been in a situation where I called the cops on my family member because they had a knife, they was trying to stab someone else. So, would I have blamed the cop if my family member went after them with a knife and shot him? No. So, I do think sometimes it is like George Zimmerman was wrong. But I also think if you go after a police officer with a knife and your own family member is calling the cops to help them, look, I don't want to see anyone die. I wish they would have shot him in the leg. And I think there needs to be something with that training. But I don't think that's cops saying, let me go kill this black guy. I think that was a family scared of their mentally unstable son. I think the mentally unstable son, even if he's mentally unstable, he doesn't have a right to take that knife and go after someone, especially a cop. That's wrong. And to confuse those two things, and to not acknowledge that George Zimmerman was wrong, and to not acknowledge that that young kid in Philadelphia was wrong to going after those cops, that's both sides need to be honest, okay? And if we're going to, in America, have an honest conversation, that's the honest conversation. Now, do we want to have it? Probably not. So, but eventually we'll have to have it. Why? Because, guys, we all got to live with each other, okay? So I think there's more good than bad. All right, let's continue. Fred, sorry for getting too political here. No, it's all good. That's why I got members only. Because if we're going to get political, it's going to be with boundaries. And so it's all love, brother. I appreciate you. And we got different opinions in here, and I love you. Laughing. Let's talk about Florida. Well, that's the next subject. I'm trying to figure out if I should go tomorrow or next week. I love you, man. Love you, Fred. Backwards. Yeah, those are the Florida emojis right now. Well, again, right now, it's still good camping weather, and that's my biggest debate. So we'll see. Love to you, backwards. Edith, I find it interesting that one of the most famous politicians, Winston Churchill, was kind of Trump-like during his time. It will be interesting to see how history represents Trump in a few decades. Well, I can tell you this, if they erect a statue of Trump, just like we're doing now, we'll throw those statues over the river. Why? Because there's a lot of people that we idolized. Like, remember Jesus said, don't make anyone an idol? Okay? We idolized them, and look, they may have done some good things, but they also did bad. So Look, whether it's a statue of Michael Jordan in front of a stadium or whether it's a statue of Christopher Columbus, to me, I could do with all statues because to me, I'm not a statue guy. But, to understand history is to say, look, part of it was humans were just trying to figure it out, right? So I don't think that everything done was of ill motive. However, human motive, is power and control. Whether it's America, Rwanda, Iraq, whatever. And so let's learn from our past mistakes as humans, and let's work together to figure out how we can coexist in shared environments. And in our personal environment, we do us. And I think what history has shown us is that as bad as humans can be, they can get better and change over time, and they have, and it's a good thing. Gal, what's up? Thanks. Adapting is the key. 100 emoji, not easy. Love to you, Gail. Backwards. Obama actually spent the most money out of every president, and he did the opposite of what he said he was going to do. Shaking your head. Well, I don't know about that. In the past year, we spent about $10 trillion. So when Donald Trump took over, I think the country deficit was 18 trillion. Now it's almost 30 trillion. So Barack Obama didn't spend that much. So I think factually, if you look up the data, I think actually Trump has socialized the stock market, asked for stimulus, which is more deficit spending. And I think he ran up the trade deficit. We're in a bigger trade deficit with China. We've borrowed more money. We've created an inflated bubble. Remember, Trump said that Barack Obama was keeping interest rates low to artificially inflate the economy. He did the same thing, but more. Now we got negative interest rates. Donald Trump printed more money than Obama. So I love you, but I think I have to disagree with that one. Fred, I was referring to the election results when he was declared the winner. He's talking about Obama now. Not police brutality under Obama. Ferguson riots was the result of police killing a black man. Well, like I say, I think we have to talk about that in a comprehensive way. Because it is true that after the election of Barack Obama, there were no mass riots in the street. But also, over time, there was a level of pandering that caused an undercurrent of racism. And I don't remember all the facts about that incident that spurred the riots in Ferguson. But I remember, like I said, the Trayvon Martin thing, which I spoke on because I remember the facts about that. And so I remember these issues were coming up. And in my evaluation, I didn't see enough good leadership from Obama to get us through them. I don't put it all on him because I think some of the country is just not ready to have that conversation or wasn't. So we went to the other extreme. And I definitely don't think the vast majority of Americans want to go in Trump's direction. So the good thing about Trump is, look, guys, you have to talk directly to a certain extent. And I think sometimes Obama, because he's a very prudent person. Remember, Obama was a lawyer. Obama went to law school. So he was very calculated in his arguments. Remember, Donald Trump, he didn't go to law school. Donald Trump was a TV show apprentice. Some say he cheated on his SAT. He was a salesman. So you have to find a balance in between a salesman and a lawyer to find the truth. And that's what we're trying to do. Now, is it Joe Biden? Well, it's better than more Trump. That's true. Let's see what happens. Backwards. I'm super careful. I don't cause conflict, good. Well, remember, sometimes conflict comes your way. But I will defend myself if I have to. Well, remember, I know a lot of people who talk in all caps and they end up in jail. God forbid, don't do that to yourself. Backwards, cops are trained to shoot to kill. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's one thing I thought, well, I don't understand why they don't shoot in the leg. However, to be fair, when someone's coming at you with a knife, it's not a lot of time to decide. So, and the training, though, there has to be, I don't know why they don't just have guns like tranquilizers, like for, like when you tranquilize, an animal or something. That way, it sedates the person but doesn't kill them. And they can be tried in a court of law. Now, I understand there's some people, the counter argument to that is there's some people on so many drugs that if you shoot them with a tranquilizer, they'll keep coming after you. So it's a tough call. Backwoods, I agree, Sam. Should have shot him in the leg. Yeah, it's a tough call. Good comments, though. Good debate. Backwoods, love camping. Well, yeah, that's why we're in good camping weather. That's why I'm debating if I should go to Florida tomorrow or wait another week. I love you too, Backwoods. I love camping. All right, guys. I poured out my soul. I gave it the best I got. I want to thank you for giving it the best you got. Thank you, Backwoods, for adding your perspective. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Free Spirit. Thank you, Edith. Love to you guys and girls. Gail, you know I appreciate you. Hang in there, Gail. I'm praying for you. And hopefully my videos help you guys, all right? Peace.